I think this is the first time I've said this out loud. I finally understand what real loneliness is. It's not what I thought it was when I was younger. Back then I thought loneliness was just being without company, or spending a few quiet evenings alone, or feeling a little left out at gatherings. But that wasn't loneliness. That was just space. What I live with now is something different, something heavier, something that sits with me even when I don't want it to. And I guess I'm talking about it now because I don't have many years left to pretend otherwise. When you reach this age, pretending feels like a bad habit you should have given up a long time ago. These days my mornings start the same way. I wake up, listen to the silence in the house, and try to remember when that silence became louder than the sound of any voice I ever loved. I sit on the edge of the bed longer than I need to, not because I'm tired, but because standing up means stepping into another day where no one needs anything from me. And there was a time when I thought that would feel peaceful. I really did. But peace and loneliness can look the same from a distance. Up close, they're nothing alike. I didn't get lonely all at once. It took a lifetime, though I didn't notice it happening. If you ask the younger version of me, even the version in my 40s, I would have told you I had a full life. I had work, routine, people around me, family I assumed would always stay close. I had plans stacked on top of other plans, and for some reason I believed every stage of life would wait for me until I was ready. I didn't realize that life doesn't wait. It moves, quietly, steadily, whether you're paying attention or not. When I was in my 30s, I was busy in the way most people are busy. Not running toward anything great and not running away from anything terrible, just keeping up. I'd wake before sunrise, get dressed in the same shirt and trouser combinations, drink tea that was always a little too hot, and head out the door. My job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't all that present either. Looking back, I think that was the beginning of it, moving through life without really feeling it. I had this habit of pushing small things aside, not big things, small ones. My daughter asking me to watch her show and tell practice, my wife wanting to take a walk after dinner, a friend inviting me for tea because he just wanted to talk. None of those moments felt urgent. None felt like they needed to happen right then. So I would say, maybe later, or not tonight, or I'll make time this weekend. And I believed it. I wasn't lying. I just thought time was something I had plenty of. I thought relationships could be paused and resumed, like a book you put down for a few days. I didn't know that people grow while you're not looking. They shift bit by bit, and one day you turn back to them and realize you don't fit in the same places anymore. In my 40s, I remember coming home late most evenings. I'd hear the faint sounds of the television in the living room and voices, my wife, my son, sometimes both children talking over each other. But by the time I entered the room, they were already half asleep. I'd tell myself it was fine because there would be another evening, another weekend, another chance to be closer. But weekends filled up too, and then my children got older. Friends I once saw weekly became people I saw monthly, then yearly, and I didn't question it. I assumed this was how adulthood worked. I assumed relationships needed less tending once they were established. What I didn't see was how much I was contributing to the distance. In my 50s, it became normal for entire days to pass without me having a single meaningful conversation. Not because there was no one to talk to, but because I didn't initiate anything. I started choosing silence out of convenience. I'd come home tired, sit in my chair, watch whatever show was on, and convince myself that sitting together in the same room counted as connection. My wife tried, though. She would ask about my day, ask if we could visit the kids more often, ask if we could take a small trip now and then. And I would say, eventually, yes, just not right now. I didn't realize how many times she heard that. I didn't notice her growing quiet in response. Loneliness is strange. It doesn't begin when people leave. It begins while they're still there, sitting right beside you, but you're too pulled inward to notice the gap opening between you. I think my turning point came slowly, long before I understood it. But if I had to choose a moment, just one, it would be the day my wife didn't ask me anything at all. She didn't complain, didn't push, didn't remind me of the plans we kept postponing. She just carried on with her day, humming softly while she folded laundry. And I remember looking at her, really looking, and realizing I didn't know the last time I had asked her how she felt. We were in the same house, sharing the same meals, sleeping under the same roof, but we weren't sharing a life anymore. We were sharing a schedule. I didn't say anything. I didn't even know how to. And that silence lasted longer than I ever thought it would. By the time I tried to fix it, she was sick. The kind of sick that reshapes your days into hospital visits and waiting rooms and difficult conversations. I took time off work, something I should have done years before. I sat beside her and held her hand, and I think she appreciated it. But there was a distance between us I couldn't cross anymore. Too much had been left unsaid for too many years. She passed away during a quiet morning. I was there, holding her hand. And yet I still felt too far. I remember going home that day and sitting in the chair I had spent countless evenings in, the same chair I thought of as comfort. But that evening, the silence felt different. It wasn't peaceful. It wasn't restful. It felt like everything I had missed, the conversations, the moments, the simple acts of being present, was sitting in the room with me, finally demanding to be acknowledged. That was the first time I felt real loneliness, not because I was alone, but because I suddenly understood how many years I had spent creating the emptiness I now lived in. After she was gone, the children and I tried to adjust. They visited, they called, they checked in, but I could feel how careful they were with me. Conversations stayed polite, short. They were kind, but distant in the way people become when there is too much unspoken history. They had grown, formed lives, families, routines. I was a guest in their world, not a part of it. And I suppose that's fair. I didn't make space for them when it mattered most. Now they make space in the ways they can, and I'm grateful for that, truly. But gratitude feels thin when you're trying to fill the quiet of an entire house with it. I used to believe loneliness was about lacking people, but the truth is you can be surrounded by people and still be lonely. if you don't let yourself really know them or let them know you. My loneliness wasn't built from absence. It was built from avoidance. Avoiding small talks because I was tired. Avoiding feelings because they made me uncomfortable. Avoiding vulnerability because I thought strength meant not needing anyone. No one tells you that independence has a cost if you take it too far. I spent decades being self-sufficient, proud of managing everything on my own. But now at 81, I would trade a lifetime of self-reliance for one more hour of sitting beside someone who truly knew me. These days, the house feels larger than it ever did. I eat at the same small corner of the table. I sit in the same chair. I water the plants my wife used to care for, though I don't think I do it right. Sometimes I speak aloud just to hear a voice, even if it's only my own. I've started noticing things I never paid attention to before. The creak of the floorboard near the kitchen, the way the light shifts across the wall in late afternoon, the sound of cars passing outside, each one heading somewhere, carrying people with places to be and people to meet. It reminds me of a truth I ignored for too long. Life is not made of grand moments. It's made of small ones. The ones I kept postponing. The ones I assumed would come again. The ones I now reach for but can't touch anymore. I don't tell you this to make you sad. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm talking because I wish someone had spoken to me this honestly when I still had the time to understand it. If there's anything I've learned, it's that relationships don't disappear suddenly. They fade gradually, quietly, the way colors fade from fabric left too long in the sun. And by the time you notice the fading, it's already too late to restore what was lost. I used to think people drifted away from me. Now I know I was the one drifting, slowly, steadily, while convincing myself I was standing still. Real loneliness, the kind that settles into your bones at this age, is not the absence of others. It's the weight of realizing you never let yourself fully belong to the moments you were given. I won't pretend I've solved anything. I still wake up to silence. I still feel the heaviness of days without purpose. But I've started doing something small, something that helps a little. When someone calls, I stay on the line longer than I used to. When a neighbor waves, I walk over instead of just nodding. When a memory feels painful, I don't push it away. I sit with it. I let it tell me what it needs to. Because at 81, you don't try to escape loneliness. You learn to acknowledge it. You learn to be honest about it. And in that honesty, there's a kind of gentleness. If you're listening to this and any part of it feels familiar, all I can offer is this. Don't wait as long as I did to notice the people in your life. Not the big moments, the small ones. They're quieter, easier to miss, but they're the ones that stay with you when everything else falls away. If this meant something to you, then I'm glad I spoke it out loud. It's taken me a lifetime to find these words. I don't know how many years I have left, but I know this. I don't want to spend whatever time remains pretending I'm not lonely. I'd rather speak the truth, even if only a few people hear it. And maybe that truth can sit with you the way it sits with me now. Quietly, honestly, without expectation. That's enough.